Hey Buns! Welcome back to Marginal. Last week was such a roller coaster of emotions, wasn't it? Oh, my heart feels like it's breaking all over just thinking about it. I am hoping this week will be a little less traumatic. But let's see where we are starting off this week. Alright, last time we read Rain, and this time... Ooh, it's Lady. If I'm remembering correctly from reading it on stream, this one was also heart-wrenching. There's also some sensitive subject matter in this one, so I will do my best to pre-warn for parts where I feel like it might be too much. There's definitely a part I'm definitely going to pre-warn about because it is very traumatic, so just wanted to pre-warn about that first. So with that being said, let's hop into Lady. Help me. She said that. Even if she hadn't said it, her eyes told me. Up until now, someone who served as a priestess, who risked her entire life to be the sacrifice for atonement, believed in God without question, sacrificing herself. A person whose endless smile never broke, pleaded for the first time. For the first time. She beseeched that God for salvation. But my sister died. In the end, her life ended simply without me hearing her voice. And my own life was also stained ashen gray. Apparently, things like gods don't exist. That's right. I swore in my heart. There are no gods. Even if one did exist, I swear to never accept such things as gods. If there was something that called itself a god and were to mete out punishment upon me, then let them punish me as much as they please. All the punishment I get, put together with the unjust fate, my sister's regrets, my own regrets. Someday, I will turn them into a curse. Chapter 2, Mistress in the Rainy World. It's kind of weird that this one has chapters. Protagonist route didn't have chapters. I suddenly woke up. The sound of rain falling and the sensation of water hitting my face roused me. Where am I? The first thing I could hear was the sound of rain falling. Next, what jumped at my eyes was white everywhere. Oh, we're in the other world now. All I could see was the pure white sky and flagstones. Thanks to the rain, I couldn't see clearly, even a short distance away. But just before, the mountains had been buried in snow. Without thinking, I spun around, but everywhere I looked had the same scenery stretching on. Even if I strained my eyes, all I could see beyond the haze of the rain was the faint white horizon. I have no idea. At first, I had thought it was a dream, but it didn't seem that way. For a dream, the scene before my eyes, the feeling of the rain on my skin was just too vivid. Then was this the other world? The one after death? It was pretty far from what I had thought it would be like, but most importantly, if this is the afterlife, it was strange that I didn't see my sister. 33 years hadn't passed, so she shouldn't have become an ancestral spirit yet. Wait, not only was my sister missing, but so was everyone else. There weren't any signs of movement. I don't really understand, but I guess I'll try walking around. I started slowly walking. No matter how much I thought about it, It didn't seem like I'd arrived at an answer, and staying put wouldn't do anything. But being soaked by rain didn't make me feel cold, but having it constantly falling on me was tiring. And after a while, I don't really know how far, I continued walking. But everything remained the same. There wasn't any change in scenery. No matter where I walked, the flagstones continued. There wasn't anything that looked like buildings. And of course, there weren't any signs of people, nor signs of anything moving. Then, I noticed something. Why am I not hungry? Before coming here, I hadn't eaten in 3 days and was starving, to the point where I was on the verge of death from cold and hunger. And yet, right now I don't feel any hunger, and my body doesn't feel weak. Just what was this place? The same question kept repeating in my mind. At the least, I didn't think it was the real world. The closest thing I could imagine was the afterlife, but it felt different from that too. Where this is, could it really? Suddenly I had a thought. What if I had been brought to this place in order to complete repaying the debt? Of course, if you asked who was responsible, it would probably be that God or whatever. Besides that, I couldn't think of any other reason. I see. If I think of it that way, it explains a number of things. As a priestess of a shrine, I was repaying a debt to a god. On top of that, I was still continuing to do so. If that god or whatever were counting on that, then something like this happening wouldn't be too surprising. Saying he'd been denied repayment and wanted me to repay the debt properly. And if I didn't live in the real world, then a different place would be prepared. If that was the case, then it all fit. However, at the same time, a different emotion boiled forth from within me. Probably anger. Oh, yeah, anger. It'd be a problem if I were misunderstood. Right now, I wasn't continuing on with the sacrifice for God's sake, and obviously not for the shrine nor the head priest either. Yes, this is all for my sister. If there had really been a god or whatever, then why didn't he save her then? If they were capable of making such miracles happen, it shouldn't have been difficult. I will not accept anything that does that as a god. If this were something that would benefit such a god, I had no intention of participating in it. The anger within me grew bigger and bigger. Soaked by the rain, standing all alone in an incomparably immense place, with flagstones stretching seemingly endlessly before me and an inexhaustible amount of falling rain. When he could bring about a miracle like this, and yet he still continues to demand that helpless people like us continue struggling to repay a debt? When that thought came to me, I took off the cloth wrapped around my mouth. It was almost unconscious. I had been taking care not to make a sound all this time, but that wasn't necessary anymore. I looked up at the sky. Something was probably looking down upon me from above the rain clouds. There was about 200 years left, and I didn't care. Not about sacrifices, nor about atonement. For starters, I don't recall my sister and I creating a debt. I threw away the silk cloth that had wrapped around my mouth. Then I took a deep breath. "It's over!" I shouted. "You can start from the beginning again." Words for him looking down upon me from beyond the rain clouds. No, I wasn't even certain whether such beings really existed. These were words for myself. To make sure I wouldn't be drowned out by the rain, I yelled at the top of my lungs. Phew. There. I said it. Without noticing, I was out of breath. It had been about a year since I used my voice. Who would do anything for you? Serves you right. Choosing me to be a sacrifice, not saving my sister? That was where you failed. At some point, my shouting at the sky had changed into coughing. While being battered by the rain, it was a cough that even I myself could tell was tinged with self-mockery. For times like this, my low, uncute voice felt appropriate. Well, I've heard her voice. I think it sounds pretty cute. I wonder what's wrong. Afterwards, I hadn't left the area, but nothing happened. Hey, hurry up and return me back to my home world. You're done with me, right? I don't want to be a sacrifice. Once more, I shouted towards the sky. The rain just continued to fall, and there was still no reply. I spoke, in a big voice too. The 333 years of atonement should have been broken. There was supposed to be 200 yet, but it doesn't matter now. At the least, there should be no more use for me. Essentially, both the reason I was brought here and the reason to lock me up here should have gone away. Hurry up already, since even if you send me back, I'm just going to die. Over and over again, I shouted up at the sky. There was no response. Nothing happened. There was simply silence and rain falling on my face. Could it be that this wasn't his doing? The thought tumbled from my lips. Not an answer to anyone, just answering my own question. Then, this had nothing to do with the atonement? But then, what was this place? What have you been doing all this time? Oh, we get to see someone else's face. I don't remember seeing her face. Turning around, there was an unfamiliar woman. She seemed like a young woman, and of course wasn't my sister. Long black hair and a pretty face, wearing a tattered kimono, she stood, apparently happily, in the rain. You're an interesting one. First time I've seen someone yelling at the sky. Well, standing around here talking isn't that great, so let's go over there. With that, the woman quickly started walking off. I had no idea what to say and wound up saying nothing. Hey, wait a moment, please. Is something the matter? Before that, where is this place? Explaining that will be a bit long, you see. Plus, we'd get soaked by the rain, so for now, come with me. As if she didn't hear me, she quickly went off, splashing in puddles as she walked. Who was this person? Could she be a messenger from the gods? She didn't really look like one, though. While thinking, I started to follow after the woman. See, it's there. Over there you won't get wet, right? She pointed at a structure made of large stone pillars. Oh, this is where the bus stop bench is. Up till now, I had seen large buildings and shrines made of wood, but this was different from all those. At the least, it was something that I'd never seen before. Phew, that was cold, and I got pretty wet too. As she entered the structure, the woman started to brush the rain off of her body. Looking around, There were just a few garden stones scattered about, and nothing else. It was fairly spacious, but it was a place with just a roof to avoid the rain. For someone who had been hiding deep in the mountains, it was a bit odd for me to say, but it was a pretty lonely place. Or did it mean that there was no other place with a roof? Yes, this is the only place with a roof, so you shouldn't be picky. Eh? But I haven't even spoken out loud yet. She answered like she knew what I was thinking. I can tell. Just by looking at your face, I can see what you're thinking. This person might really be a messenger from God. I didn't know her real purpose, but it was just too unnatural to think that a normal person would be in a place like this. So, Miss Priestess? She directed her words at me. What is it? Could it be that you're thinking that I'm some messenger from God? I gave a small nod. If this place were a place prepared by God, I had been expecting some kind of reaction from my breaking the atonement earlier. And I had thought that I would be sent back to the real world. So this person was a messenger from God, and most likely had appeared before me bearing some kind of task. But that's not the case, Miss Priestess. What do you mean? Like I said, I'm not a messenger from God, just a normal human. But you could see what I was thinking earlier. Silly, I'm not reading your thoughts, it's experience. Experience? Yes, just how many tens of people do you think I've done these answers for? In the beginning, everyone says the same thing, so I've just memorized the answers. If those words were true, then she was a normal person, and that would mean she had nothing to do with gods, the shrine that raised me, the atonement, nor the sacrifice. Then, just what was this place? I became even more confused. I'll tell you as much as I know about this place. Another answer like she had again seen through me. Is this something you can get from experience? Or was she really hiding that she was a messenger from God? I still couldn't tell. She went through everything once with me. According to her, it seemed this wasn't the real world, and yet it also wasn't the afterlife. Basically, it wasn't the land of the dead, nor the land of eternal youth. She said that if she had to guess, it was between the real world and the afterlife, a place like a ghost world. Well, to explain it in a way that a priestess can understand, this is a place where time has stopped. Time has stopped? That's right. So here you don't starve, get old, or get sick. Then you can't even die? I find it interesting that Rain said the same thing that protagonist said. Like, that was one of the first things he noticed, like he couldn't die if he wanted to. Of course. Her answer was brief. Say, Miss, can I ask one question? I don't mind, but I'll answer it before you ask, since I know what you're going to ask anyway. Saying that, she took a small breath and kept speaking. First, no one knows why this place exists. Who created this place and when? No one knows. It's not the gods? The gods? You say some interesting things. Why? This isn't something that can be done by men. Saying that, I pointed at the endlessly continuing flagstones fogged by rain. Sorry, but unlike you, priestess, I can't bring myself to believe in that stuff. I haven't once seen a god, nor heard their voices. That was the same for me. It was just that I haven't found a different answer that was satisfying. In any case, let's sleep today. Priestess, you shouldn't walk around. Once she said that, the young woman lay down where she was. Paying no heed to the hard stone floor, she stretched out her arms and legs in a big spread eagle position. But it's still so bright out. No, night is coming. It will get dark soon. As she spoke, the white rainy sky changed to deep gray. And in moments, the area was cloaked in darkness. So, like I said, let's continue tomorrow. Good night. Without anything to do, I stretched out my body next to her. The part of my back touching the stone floor was a bit chilly. Before I knew it, I had come to this mysterious place. I broke the atonement out of anger and was now sleeping next to some mysterious stranger. Could this all be a dream? When I wake up next, I might be shivering in the snowy mountains. Or this was not a dream, and this person really was a messenger from God, and had come to me to admonish me about the role of sacrifice for atonement. The scattered thoughts kept spinning around in my head as I fell asleep at some point. You know what I just thought about? Rain, well, I think she came here in her priestess outfit, right? Because, yeah, in the CG she was in her priestess outfit. But in the other, I guess, is it another timeline? Well, in the other story with protagonist, she's wearing like the lingerie pajamas. And, I wonder what happened to her outfit. I would assume she had shoes too, but I don't know, maybe after all of these years, maybe it disintegrated? But then that wouldn't make any sense either because time has stopped, so I wouldn't think that anything would disintegrate. I just don't know. What happened to her clothes? The next day, waking up at the sound of rain, I slowly opened my eyes. It's morning. Apparently, I had fallen asleep sometime last night. Good morning, priestess. Did you sleep well? Yes. I answered while half asleep and rubbing my eyes. It's a bit sudden, but I'll explain things, so come with me. Please wait a moment. The young woman flew out ahead of me. I didn't really understand, but I rushed to follow her. Outside, the rain was still falling. Small drops formed in that pure white sky struck my body. Under that sky, splashing sounds came from the wet ground. I'll explain things. Saying just that, the woman walked on without paying heed to the rain. Even for me, it wasn't cold or anything, it just simply soaked me. Eventually, her feet finally stopped. It's supposed to be around... Oh, there it is. As I looked to where she indicated, I noticed a hole in the flagstones. It was big enough that a single person might pass through, and for some reason, the hole was completely black and nothing could be seen on the other side. Priestess, I'm just guessing, but you were in the mountains or plains, either way, in a natural cave? How did you... That was exactly it. At the time, while freezing from the cold of the snowy mountain, I'd been shivering in a small cave. I had thought that since you're a priestess, it'd be a sliding door and maybe a torii gate. Miss, what does that mean? It's fine. It's not a complicated thing. Apparently, whenever you come to this world, it was through some sort of entrance. For most people, it's a simple hole or a sliding door or castle gates, but for some, there were house doors and even fences. But the entrance the person enters from remains, I wonder what meaning that held. Don't rush. From here on is the important part. Essentially, the entrance also serves as the exit. Exit? Why, to the real world, of course. And by the way, if you go back, you'd never be able to return here. That was a surprise. Then for what purpose was I brought here? I still didn't know the reason why, but I certainly didn't think that a way back would be prepared like this. Unconsciously, I looked up at the sky. It was because I couldn't organize the thoughts within me. Yesterday, I had quickly broken the atonement upon arriving here. If dealing with that atonement had been the reason I had been brought to this place, then I was already useless. And so I had demanded that I be quickly returned to the real world. At that time, I had thought I had been ignored. I even thought I had been brought here for an unrelated reason. But now, I was told that I could return to the real world. So, hurry up and go back. I'm sure that shrine is making a big fuss about how a priestess has disappeared. Oh, could it be that you don't want to go back? Yeah. I gave an honest answer. No matter who she was, even if she was a messenger from God, it didn't matter. If I were asked whether I wanted to return to the real world, there was no answer other than no. Priestess here's been through some things too, I see, even though she's just a kid. Well, coming here in a hole in the ground, either you've been run out of the shrine or the shrine's been burned to the ground and you have no place to go. The woman spoke plainly. It was a bit frustrating, but there was nothing wrong with her reasoning. Well, my sister, really, I was... don't say any more. Sooner or later, you're going to wind up going back after all. I'll go back? That's right. Sadly, you aren't able to stay here. Someone like Priestess or anyone human besides myself. She was emphasizing the besides herself part. Then, if I didn't go back? That's impossible. You'll be sent back automatically after a few days. Then I'd be sent back to the snowy depths of the mountains? A place where, if I were sent back, I'd just starve to death or freeze. So, Priestess, are you going back or not? I couldn't help but fall silent. Knowing that I'd die, there was a feeling that I didn't want to return. And also, there was another worry. Well, it's fine if you don't answer right now. There's 3 days of time, so think about it slowly. Saying that, the woman started to go back. She started to head to the place with the roof. Like before, she had a light step and was hopping over the puddles in the way. Just what was this person? I had thought that for the umpteenth time. This place itself was mysterious, but the people in it were just as mysterious. She apparently wasn't a messenger from God. That said, she didn't seem to be a normal human. Priestess, I've got one more request. Yes, what is it? Could you stop calling me Miss? But then what should I call you? I didn't expect you to reply that way. Putting her hand to her face, she seemed to think about it a bit. Come to think of it, she was always calling me Priestess, so that was a pretty selfish thing to say. And how about calling me Lady? Eh? Lady? Are you someone from the court? Isn't it fine either way? You honestly don't seem like a proper priestess either. So, now we're even? Saying that, she gave a bright smile. Behaving so cheerfully even in soaked, tattered clothes, she somehow reminded me of my sister. Hey, lady, just what are you? You're curious about me? Yes, I just can't believe you're a normal person. Well, you're right that I'm not a normal person. I guess, figuratively speaking, I'm the mistress of the rainy world. Mistress? Like an emperor or king? However, the mistress of a world of only one. Saying that, the woman who called herself Lady made a face that was just slightly lonely. I still don't really understand this person, but I can't imagine that she's interacting with me out of ill intent. And even if she were something that wasn't human, I had the feeling she wasn't an agent of those god things. Oh, that was pretty short. Okay, we can also read Water Marginal then. I just noticed something. So, Lady just said that she is the mistress of the rainy world, and that is what we're going to be reading pretty soon. I wonder if that means she'll come back. Oh my goodness, if she comes back, that'll be really interesting, because Rain said that there's only room for... Well, technically there's only room for one, but it can house two up to a certain point. So what would happen if there are 3 beings in this place? Well, I'm so excited to read that one. Okay, let's read Water Marginal. We once again return to that place. Phew, that was cold. Priestess, go dry your clothes too. Yes. Following her lead, I spread my clothing out on the floor to dry. Apparently, in this place it kept raining and never stopped. Of course, even wearing wet clothes, you wouldn't catch a cold or get sick, and apparently if you got hurt, it would heal in moments. However, just being in wet clothes felt bad, so she kept her clothes dry. Hey, priestess, don't you think this place needs a chair to sit on? I'm not... Oh, right. Since you're a priestess, you're used to sitting formally. Saying that, the woman, lady, brazenly sat down cross-legged on the stone floor. However, in contrast with her name, sitting cross-legged while naked was pretty indecent. She seemed to be 5 or 6 years older than me, but I think she was a fairly strange person. Well, since you're here, help out, priestess. Yes? Come with me. This time is not that far. Saying that, she made to run outside while still naked. Well, I guess there's no one else around, so it's not that bad. Wait, you're going like that? Mistress Lady? Mistress is unnecessary. Just call me Lady, and also, you don't need to be polite. I can do that, but to go outside naked... Oh, that's so cute. There's no one else around and we're both women, so it's fine, right? I always felt weird about this line of reasoning. Like, in locker rooms with other women, I tend to, get undressed in, a bathroom stall if it's available, because I feel so weird being naked in front of other people. And other women, they'll be like, oh, we're all ladies here, it's fine. And I'm like, no. I'm still uncomfortable. Hey, what? Don't pull my hand. I was half forcibly pulled outside while naked. It wasn't as if I was fine inside the building, but even if I knew that no one was around, I still felt awkward going outside naked. Eventually, we arrived at some place that resembled a riverside. In a world where no matter where you went, there were worn flagstones, it suddenly appeared before us. But to be called a river, it was far too large. You couldn't see the opposite side, upriver or downriver, because of the haze of rain. Just how big could this river be? Look, priestess, you see over there? Eh? There? Ah, there's something there. Past the haze of rain, there seemed to be something that looked like a bed frame washed up on the shore. But because it had been soaked in water, the frame was so broken that you could see even from far away. You see, sometimes things from the real world drift in. Lady explained it to me. Apparently, things flow into this place at irregular intervals, but it wasn't all that frequent. There wasn't any rhyme or reason as to what arrived, and apparently most things don't even retain their original shape. Plus, if you left them alone for a few days, they'd get washed away somewhere. So, priestess, I want to take this back, so help me. Eh? This? All the way to that place? It's really hard to carry stuff like this alone, so I get people who come to help out in cases like this. No, I understand that. So, let's pick it up. 1, 2... On her call, we lifted up the remains of what seemed to be a bed frame. In the middle of the rain, naked, fishing out a broken bed frame, it was already so past the point of embarrassing, it was simply funny. Phew. Wait, picking it up is fine and all, but it's more ruined than I thought. And yesterday when I saw it, I thought it would make a good pickup too. Then what should we do? Well, we'll give up for now. Another one will come eventually. And if it doesn't? You're silly, priestess. Time has stopped in this place, and I'm the mistress here. Eh? It means I've got an eternity of time. There's no reason at all to rush. I see. She probably had a point. In this place, you didn't get hungry or sick or old or even die. So of course her way of thinking was fundamentally different from mine. And after a while, we once again returned to that place. Ah, it looks like our clothes have dried. Lady started to put on the dried clothing she had spread on the stone floor. When I placed my hands on my own clothing, I felt relieved. Even if I knew that there was no one else around, I couldn't stay calm while naked. But, lady, are you always like that? I don't know what you mean by that, but I'll tell you one thing. No matter what you do, you forget everything if you go back to the real world. Eh? You forget everything? It wasn't that I didn't believe someone who had been here for so long, but just how could she have known such a thing? If once you leave you can never return, then there shouldn't be a way for her to know. Have you ever heard of this place while you were in the real world, even as a rumor? Oh, this is the same question that Nighttime Rain asked to protagonist. I just had a thought. What if the mistress is like possessing Rain at night? And that's why her personality is so different. Well, there's so many theories. So many questions and so little answers. I've heard of being spirited away or disappearing into the mountains, but never heard of a world of rain like this. Then that's the answer. Ah, I see. I finally understood. Those who come here, except her, would soon be sent back to the real world. If there were any memories of this place, then it wouldn't be strange if word spread, at least as rumors. And since I had never once heard of such a place, then it was natural to think that visitors must lose their memories. Ah, but then, the people who leave here, you wouldn't know if they really return to the real world. Potentially, they could just die like that and go to the afterlife. About that, not even I know. Then how would you be able to say so surely? That's... For some reason, Lady fell silent at that question. Maybe it was hard to say, but she seemed a bit different from her usual self. She fell silent and gazed at the rainy scenery. No, she seemed to be gazing at something beyond that. As I suspected, she knew something. She was deliberately hiding something from me. Eventually, her gaze returned to me, and she started speaking in her normal way. There's no choice but to believe it, is there? When I first came here, that was what was passed down to me. A person before Lady? To begin with, just how long were you here? Don't just suddenly start asking me hard questions when you're just a kid. It has nothing to do with being a kid. And yesterday you said that you've met tons of people. Is that true? Yes, it's not a lie. But being in here, I don't know much about what's going on outside. But once in a while, I talk to the people who come here, and so I think I have a rough sense of the years in the real world. Saying that, she straightened up proudly. Even with just a rough idea, I'm sure she had a fair sense of things. And you might even be able to know what age and year it is from what floats in on the river. Okay, Buns, this next part, it's just one line, but it has to deal with, assault. So I will put a timestamp right here, to where you can go at the end of the, or not the end of the video, where you can go to skip this part. Okay. By the way, the 10th or so one was the worst. The worst? They wanted to stay here? There was that, but it was a dirty young man. Men come here too? Why, of course. Old, young, men, and women. There aren't any rules, and the time between them is all different too. So that's how it was. Thinking about it, she had said that there was no commonality between the things that float on the river. It might be the same thing with people. But in a place with no one else, being alone with just a man, that's just horrible. Yeah, that time I was raped all day, every day. That was a handful. I see. I would be uncomfortably laughing too, because I laugh when I'm, like, taken off guard or uncomfortable. And, if someone just kind of said that out of nowhere and started laughing about it, I'd just be like, oh, I don't know what to do. Should I also giggle? It's not funny, but, you know, that type of situation. Without thinking, I tried a weak laugh with her. And at the end, he said he wanted to stay and wouldn't listen even when I said it wasn't possible. And what happened? Well, he wouldn't die even if I killed him, so I tore off his arms and legs and threw him into the exit. If you're not prepared for that much, you can't stay in this place. And there she once again lost the sunny face she had been wearing. I had no idea just how long Lady had spent in this place. However, it was at least a few years. No, she could have spent even decades here all alone. The next morning, today the rain was also falling. I had no idea who, at what time, or for what purpose created this place. Most likely, not even Lady knew the truth herself. But if someone who called herself the mistress of the rainy world said she didn't know, then maybe no one knew. That's true, I don't know, even someone like myself. Eh? There she goes, reading minds again. Before I could speak, her voice came, words like she could clearly see what I was thinking. When I came here, I was told it was because she was experienced in dealing with the same questions, but now it wasn't that kind of situation. Just now, was that? Yes, I read your thoughts, priestess. Thoughts? Actually, that kind of stuff is simple, for me. But before you said you weren't a messenger of God. Of course, but I can do similar kinds of things. Saying just that, she stretched her hand outside to the rain. And as I was thinking what would she do? Water? The rain was moving as if it were alive. So what exactly is this? I'm controlling the water. She said it simply, as if it were normal. To begin with, I didn't understand what she meant by controlling water, but the thing freely moving in front of me was proof of that. Here, there's only water and rain, you see. Before I realized it, I was able to do these things. Well, so I'm already not a normal person. Lady laughed cheerfully. Certainly this wasn't something a normal human could imitate. She could read people's thoughts, move and control things so supernaturally. It seemed like she had already surpassed the realm of humanity. Maybe she understood the meaning of this place. No, even if she didn't have a clear answer, I had a feeling she's grasped the rough sense of it. Then, why is it that she hasn't told me? The answer to that, I'll leave for when I someday return to the real world. Even though you'll lose your memories? I'm not calling myself the mistress of this world just for show, you know. But in Priestess's case, your memories will disappear and it will all end with you quickly dying. Hearing the word death, I thought about what has happened to me. A sacrifice for an unfair atonement. My entire life was supposed to be for that purpose. My gentle sister had, without once using her voice, had her life ended. And yet, with the shrine lost and being taken to this mysterious place, there were just things I didn't understand. Night. Drops of water spilled from the completely dark sky. In the only place in this world where you could avoid the rain, we again spent the night. I think this is my favorite song, or I guess you can say BGM in the whole game. It's so like tranquil. I had stretched my body out on the stone floor. Next to me, Lady was lying on her back in the same way. From the explanation I heard previously, I could be here for 3 days, and today was the night of the second day. So, once the night ends, I would probably be going back. Hey, priestess, you awake? In the absolute darkness, her voice whispered over. Yes. What's the matter? You still don't feel like going back? It'd be helpful if you could go back tomorrow. I think that even if you have a few days, it's only about 3. So I really have to go back? That's how this place was built. It's a world that can only have one person in it. Lady was speaking somewhat seriously. While listening to her words, I had a number of thoughts. If I said I didn't want to, would I have my arms and legs torn off and thrown in the exit? Silly, I won't do something like that to you. I just want you to go back quietly. Thank you. Reading my thoughts, she answered for me. I was sure Lady could do that much if she wanted. Plus, for someone as weak as myself, Even if I weren't sleeping, she should be able to force me back without using any strange powers. And yet, she says she wouldn't do that. I felt that was what she really thought. I guess I'll wind up going back. It's not that I wanted to be here forever, but there was just one thing that worried me. It was the atonement. For my part, I had thought that I had already broken the atonement. Upon coming here, I had broken my silence, and after that, I hadn't sealed my words away. But after my experiences these past 2 days, my confidence was wavering. Even if I had to go back, I wanted to confirm that. For someone who had been here so long like Lady, she might know. It's fine, I should know about most things. And apparently once again reading my thoughts, she answered before I could speak. Just if, for many years, it was decided that something couldn't be done. And in this place that was broken, does that actually break the oath? Priestess, say it a bit more concretely, or you can just think it. I'll just read your thoughts. It's the oath of the shrine. For a long time, a specified person is not supposed to speak. Could it be the ritual of curse binding? Curse binding? She replied with an unfamiliar phrase. I had only begun to explain myself when she interrupted. For 333 years, 3 months, and 3 days, one cannot speak. Am I wrong? How did you... Well, of course I know. I haven't been living a long life for nothing. And incidentally, that is a ritual to atone for being unfaithful to the gods. Oh, so that's what happened. Somehow the priests were unfaithful, so they had to atone for it. I didn't know that. I had never heard the name before at the shrine, and just vaguely had that role pushed upon me. Well, I more or less get it now, though I'm surprised that such an old ritual was still continuing in this day. But our shrine had been doing it up until now. And Priestess, you were the sacrifice prepared for the atonement, right? Yes. It seemed like Lady saw through everything. She probably didn't even have to read my thoughts. And so, as if preparing myself for my fate, I told her everything. No, honestly, I might have just wanted someone to listen. About how I had been raised as a priestess for as long as I could remember. About how I had a kind older sister. About how she had been killed. How I was made to follow after her. And about how the shrine had been raised. How I ran away, came to the edge of death, and the next thing I realized, I was here. I see. Priestess also had a hard time. To have experienced such things at your age. Saying that, she patted my head. That kind gesture was like my sister's, and before I knew it, I was about to cry. Say, Lady, there's only one thing I worry about. Has that atonement been broken? Or, in this place where time has stopped, did my breaking it have no effect? Meaning that when I go back to the real world, it would still continue? That's... For some reason, Lady fell silent at my question. For my part, I had no regrets about going back to the real world. Even if I were fated to die upon returning, I had been resigned that there was nothing that could be done. However, I couldn't forgive that the atonement would still continue. If that atonement were to continue and I returned to the real world, then I would forget about what happened here. Meaning that, without knowing anything, I would continue with the atonement. and I would probably die from hunger and cold shortly after returning. If that atonement were to end either way, then I wanted to break it of my own free will. As someone powerless, I wanted to at least resist in that way. Priestess, most likely the atonement's been broken. After thinking for a while, Lady whispered an answer. Really? Yes, even if time were stopped in this place, the fact that you've used your voice, the rite shouldn't complete. I understand. Thank you, lady. Then, I would have no regrets. Even if I were to return to the real world and quickly die, I wouldn't mind. That's right. I had sworn it in my heart. There are no gods. Even if they exist, I refuse to accept them as gods. That is what I've decided. If there were things that called themselves gods and were to place upon me punishment, then let them punish me as much as they please. The amount of punishment I receive, with this unjust fate, my sister's regrets, my own regrets, someday I will turn them into a curse. Priestess, right now you were thinking about something bad, weren't you? Eh? Stop. Me being the only one trapped by the gods is enough. Lady, what are you saying? Nothing. Don't worry about it. It's your life. Live it as you please. Just saying that, she once again lay down and slept. Like her personality is so much like nighttime rain when she gets serious. Even Lady doesn't understand. Our regrets, no one understood. The next morning, as always, there was an endless rain and that pure white sky. With the sound of the gently falling rain outside, I rubbed my still slightly sleepy eyes and got up. Today, I go back to my home world. It wasn't that I had no regrets, but for the biggest one, I had been told that the atonement has been broken. If so, then that alone was enough. Originally, I should have died deep in the wintry mountains, and on top of that I would return, lose my memory, and continue the atonement without knowing anything that had happened here. Good morning, Priestess. Are you prepared to go back? Yes, though there isn't anything to prepare. Well, that's true. It's essentially just going back to die after all. That's true. I wound up replying with a laugh. Not even I really understood why. It might have been because, more than dying, I didn't want to continue living in that world. What's this? You can make a face like that too. What? Since you've always looked grumpy, you're oddly cold for a kid. Being told that, I had nothing to respond with. I had known this myself, but had certainly never been told directly to my face. Hey, my voice, is it strange? You mean that not charming, muttering way of saying things? I'm joking! A joke! That kind of thing is good too, right? Really? Yes, and also, if from now on you could laugh like you just did earlier, I could tell you. Tell me? About what? Well, first we have to get to that place. Saying that, and with a light hop, Lady went outside. I also followed her with a somewhat light air. As always, rain fell. From the completely white sky, small droplets struck my body. In the midst of that, the two of us walked while jumping over the puddles formed on the flagstones. Ow, ow, ow! I stepped on a rock! Occasionally, when she stepped on one of the stone fragments scattered on the ground, she'd make a big show of it. As always, she really is a very cheerful and fun person. Lady who called herself the mistress of this world and wielder of mysterious powers. Soon, we were going to part, and she was going to once again be alone, and yet she didn't appear to mind that much. Alone? I had a sudden question. I had recalled something she said earlier. She said that if I could laugh like this from now on, she would tell me something. Just what would she tell me? And I also wondered what the from now on part meant. From now on or not, I was soon going to go back to the real world and then likely die. I was supposed to have nothing to do with futures or from now on. As I was pondering that, Lady murmured, "Priestess, right now, do you still want to be here?" What's this all of a sudden? Be quiet and listen. If you want to stay here, it's not as if there's entirely no way. Is this the thing you said earlier you'd tell me? Well, this place really is for one person alone. Oh, look, you can see it. Saying that, she pointed at the hole. It was the hole that I had entered here from the real world, and also the exit I would use to return. Just like when I saw it the other day, there was a hole in the flagstones. What do you want to do? If you want, I can tell you how to stay. Of course I didn't want to refuse. If anything, going back like this just meant dying. But I'm not sure I can laugh with a smile from now on. Well, that's something you can get used to over time. After all, there is an infinite amount of time. Then first, I'll expose the lie I've told to you. Lie? I had said that after a few days, you'd get forcibly sent back, but that's a bit of a lie. Then, why is it that there's no one here? Like I said, it's just a bit of a lie. Getting sent back by force is true, and how there's a 3-day grace period is also true. However, the one sent back is the one who was here first. The one who arrived here first? From what she had explained before, it didn't make sense. If that were true, then why was Lady still here? She had even said, up to now, a few tens of people had come. If that was how things worked, she would have been the one that was sent back long ago. Priestess, you understand? Meaning, I've told you the truth, but... Up until now, I had always been tricking all the people who came, sending them back as soon as I could. Well, and for those who still wanted to stay behind, while they slept, I'd tear them apart or use my powers to run them out. Hearing that, I finally understood. Lady was supposed to be sent back. But before that happened, she had sent back the ones who came after her, sometimes by trickery, sometimes by force. Oh, so with Protag-kun, he was trying to wait to be forcibly sent back, but he wouldn't have been sent back, it would have been Rain. So, in order for Rain not to be sent back, she's gonna have to forcibly push out Protag-kun. I wonder what's gonna happen. Lady, then tell me one thing. Okay, ask me anything. Why are you telling me this when you could live forever? I was sure that my logic was sound. Lady herself had most likely lived for many years here like this. Because I've already surpassed humans. I'm not a god, but perhaps shaman? Lady's words were somewhat serious. I had no idea how long she had spent here, but the words surpassed humans were convincing. Also, it seems I've begun to have feelings towards you. For me? Wait, what are you? When I looked, Lady was putting one foot into my exit. Hearing all this, I finally realized Lady was trying to go back to the real world. And she was telling me how her method worked. How, if I did as she did, I could stay here forever. And while I'm at it, I'll confess to one last lie. You asked about the 333-year atonement. That probably is still continuing. But wasn't it supposed to have been broken? Sadly, whatever happens here has no effect on the laws of the real world. I haven't been living so long for nothing. If I'm the one saying it, there's no mistake. Then, even now that sacrifice is continuing? Then if I were to go back like this, then I would just die for nothing? Well, that's also one of the reasons I thought to give it up to you. The throne of being the mistress of the rainy world, that is. The mistress of the rainy world? But, priestess, I'm going to say it now. There's no future here. There's just an everlasting, endless now. Wait! There are still things I need to ask you! As if my pleas for her to stop were unheard, Lady seemed to give her whole body to the exit hole. If we're lucky, we'll meet again. The rest we'll talk about then. With those final words, she disappeared from this world. Lady. In a world with no one else, I was being rained upon. My exit hole had completely disappeared. The rain began to fall upon the flagstones where the hole was. Within rain that wouldn't end, there was just one person. Flagstones that stretched forever. A pure white sky. This is the true form of this place. And my whisper, without anyone making a reply, was erased by the rain. 10 years later. It was probably about that much. I'm not sure. For the first few years, I would attach a date whenever the morning came, but eventually I got confused and stopped. And in that time, no one came here. Thinking about it, I should have become 20, and oddly enough would have been the same age as my sister when she died. But nothing has changed. My height and hair were exactly like when I came here at 10. Nothing had changed. Just how long was the time people came, I wonder. Lady had said that it was irregular and entirely without rhyme or reason. But has there ever been such a large gap in visitors? Or was it normal that one would only come every few decades? Then, if Lady had sent back a few tens of people, for just how long had she lived here? She had said that at the time that I would one day learn, but it seemed that that was a ways ahead. The mistress of the rainy world. Mistress of a world that stretched on endlessly, with just one person in it. For just how long would I be on this throne? Oh my goodness! Oh, so much information was given just then. So now we know kind of how the rainy world operates. So it is true that only one person can be there at a time. But if someone else were to come and they don't leave of their own volition, then the person who was there previously is the one that's forcibly removed, and the new person is left. Can you imagine? Like, let's say the person that's there originally, right? And then another person comes, and the first person doesn't tell the second person how anything works, and then they are removed, and the new person is there, and now they have no idea how the place works. They don't know how long they're gonna be there. It's just, that would be such a scary situation to not know what's going on. Because, like, right now, I assume whoever came before Lady told her how it works, and then Lady told Rain how it works. But then Rain didn't really tell Protagoon how it works. She told him kind of the same lie that Lady told Rain, where it's like, yeah, you'll go back after 3 days, but it's only when another person comes that you'll leave forcibly. Because after 3 days, I'm the one that's gonna be forcibly removed. Oh my goodness, my brain! It feels like it's going to explode. Oh my goodness. Well, I have no idea what's going to happen. I feel like I start understanding things, but then it just causes more questions to come forward in my mind. Well, next week, we're gonna read End of the World, which I don't really remember what that one was about, but it sounds pretty intense just from the title. And if it's not too long, then we'll read Mistress of the Rainy World, which I have not read, so I have no idea what happens in that one. Oh, I'm so excited! Well, Buns, I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember to leave a like if you did like it. If you didn't like it, you can dislike the video. Because that lets me know I need to do it. I need to do better. And make sure to subscribe if you like my content so you'll always see when I upload a new video. And leave me a comment if you either want to tell me how you're feeling about the visual novel, anything I can improve upon, whatever you want. So with that, I'll see you next time. Bye, Buns!